Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Show. Here's what's coming up. Scotland poleaxe Poland, salvaging their League A status for now. Sons of Administration, Dumbarton are in trouble. And Timmy Mallett is a blue. Who knew? Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, perhaps, Scotland fans. What a way to end what was a frustrating campaign for Scotland and Steve Clarke, but we end it with back-to-back wins, restoring some pride and perhaps more. If you hate international football, rejoice because there is none of it until March next year. But don't say that to my first guest on this podcast. Joining me, wearing her tartan heart on her sleeve, fighting back the tears and desperation for Andy Robertson's sweaty shirt. It's TNT Sports senior producer, Laura Brannan. Hello, mate.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. You're very smiley, and it's good to see compared to previous Scotland encounters that we've had. And a man who likes to make pretty football things. He's Mr. Future Boy, given he's about 12 hours ahead of us. It's Melbourne City's creative director, Findlay Marks. Hello, pal.
Hello.
You all right?
Very good. Yeah. Yeah. I enjoyed that for what it was worth, but we'll get into that.
You enjoyed it. Let's get straight into why we enjoyed it. Yeah, so as I said in a very boisterous intro, Scotland have saved their League A status for now. Back-to-back wins in the Nations League. It's a classic Scottish campaign that started dismally, but what can we expect in the months ahead, folks? Finn, this campaign, what has it taught you about the Scotland national side right now?
I feel like we've slightly stabilized from where we were. The Euros, the summer was an absolute shambles. But to be honest,
Great party, though.
oh, fantastic off the field. But we were kind of rank before it. We were rank during it, and we've been rank slightly after it. But obviously, I've been really encouraged by the last three games, the draw against Portugal at Hampden, and then what are two excellent victories. Like to beat Croatia home or away is excellent, and to get a win away in Poland, not a lot of teams do that. So I don't know. I think before this campaign, looking at the teams that were in it, I probably would have expected us to finish third. I think we are better than Poland. And I just think Croatia are just, they've been at such a high level for such a long time. I think in hindsight, having seen the Croatia side we were up against, I don't think they're a vintage Croatia side. And I do think they were there for the taking. I think just we weren't in our top form. If it had maybe been the Scotland team that had been grinding out those incredible results in the previous qualifying campaign up against this Croatia team, I think we could have easily finished second. Um, so there's maybe a bit of disappointment there that we didn't. I do see some of the same issues still being there. Around Clark, which is it's nothing new. We've talked about it before. I think he can be stubborn and rigid in systems and players to a fault, which means that it is difficult for other players to come in. I know where he does it because he wants to keep this club mentality, and it has worked brilliantly for us as well. And you've seen that collective attitude and performance level from the players over the last three games, if we include the Portugal one as well. Um, but there have been real positives. I mean, I'm sure we'll come on to wax lyrical about it more in a minute. But Ben Doak breaking into the side over this international break properly and really staking a claim for a starting berth is brilliant to see. But we maybe still have some issues where players that aren't playing regularly for their club teams or slightly older players or overplayed players at their club sides, club level, are still getting in maybe against players that are more in form. But I don't know, it's a bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah, yeah, no,
And
half,
to
man.
kind of sum it up, there's been some disappointing aspects. It's ended well, and for the time being, we're still in League A, which is where I would want us to be, and where I think we should be aiming to be perennially. I know you guys have said League B is more our level. I kind of disagree. I feel like this should be the standard, maybe a lower performing side in League A, maybe flirting with League B every now and again.
Clark
Yeah,
agrees with you
so
as well.
So it's kind of a mixed
Listen,
bag for me, but just obviously really happy with the way that these two games have gone. We asked for two wins. It
yeah.
was no mean feat, and we've got two wins, so we have to be happy with that and try and progress from here.
It was pretty winning it in emphatic fashion as well, Laura. It was actually probably one of the best performances I've seen Scotland play away from home in such a long time. Obviously, and probably since the Norway game, in fact. But I thought we
You
played great
really?
football. We hit the yeah, because we were actually better in this game, I would say. But
Okay.
until yeah, that's what I would say. Hitting the woodwork twice. I mean, if Billy Gilmore's goal had just shot had gone in, that would have been up there with McFadden, etc. Scott McTominay hit the post. Just makes me wonder, like, are Scotland, have we lost? I know we won the game, but have we lost a bit of our lady luck, or is there still a lot to be positive about right now?
Scotland have never had lady luck. Like that is the one thing that's always went against us. Is teams always manage to pull it off, and they're jammy and they're lucky, and they get last minute winners against us when they don't deserve it. They get decisions going their way. We have never
Seen that.
had that. That doesn't happen to us. So for the fact that we have scored in what 86 minutes against Croatia, we've scored in the 93rd minute winner against Poland. That is unusual for us. This
Mm,
is the same tournament that we lost a 97th minute penalty on the opening day. We got a 95th minute equaliser taken off us in Croatia, which has eventually paid the price for actually finishing second. And that's the one that's came back to haunt us. But all the games have had last minute drama, and for once, some of them have actually went in our favour.
mm.
And Finn, you picked up on that. Like I know we've talked about this before, and I've said League B is our level, and I want us to go back down there. Up until honestly on Friday night, when was the game? Friday night, I was saying I don't want to finish third. Third's the worst option out of all the places. And actually now, when you've broke it all down, it's not. I was wrong. Okay. When
Go
you
on, Laura.
look at
Tell us why
us,
you were wrong.
you look
I've been waiting for this.
look at us against all three teams, Poland, Portugal, Croatia. We are equal to them. We are an
Mm.
even match for these sides. Okay, Portugal maybe a little step above, and that's probably because Ronaldo was firing all cylinders against us. But they're maybe a slightly step above. Poland and Croatia, though, I'm sorry, they're equal to us. And you're looking at now teams in League B who we're going to draw against for this relegation playoff. Right now, it's Greece and Austria are there. And then it's between Czech, Georgia, Albania, or Ukraine, and Turkey, Wales, or Iceland. None of those teams should worry us. We should now
Yeah.
feel confident that we are above and better than any of those teams, and we're a match for them. If not, we're favourites. And that's the positives to take from this campaign. Yes, we started horrendously. The hangover from Germany was awful. It was worse for the players than it was for the fans. But we have built on game by game, and I'm now in hindsight so glad that Steve Clarke did not get booted when the fans were calling for him 1, 2 games in, because look at where we'd be right now if we change managers. If we had the likes, I don't know, Derek McInnes, David Moyes, I don't know, I'm plucking names out of nowhere here, but imagine they were in the job right now. We'd have a completely different squad of players. We'd have a completely different starting lineup, probably. Shape would be entirely different. We'd be testing things out. And every
Yeah,
game
yeah.
playing right now would be trying things and looking ahead to next year. And we wouldn't be playing in the moment. We wouldn't be building on what we've done. And this is exactly what we've done. We've built on the first game to the second to the third. We've built on every single step of the way. And I think we've improved every step of the way, with the exception for probably the last 45 against Poland. I think we kind of went back to stuffy Scotland again, like we've seen against Croatia in the Euros in 2020, like Hungary in the Euros in 2024, where we don't really know how to perform when we really need to chase a result.
I,
And that last 45 was the only kind of negative, I think, in recent games.
yeah, that once Poland got their equaliser, I kind of felt it had knocked the stuffing out of us a wee bit. And I didn't see how we would come back from it. But know how, like you said it, Laura, like these last minute winners or these last minute bits of drama that the Scotland team is starting to eke out of themselves now. Is that not like kind of quintessentially what Steve Clarke's all about and why we should trust his management? Because the camp and the feeling inside of it has always been good, and we've always seemed to have had a togetherness. However, what I'm seeing elsewhere now is just this ability to never give up. And that's a really special quality to have, which I don't think I've seen in many Scotland sides since I've been growing up. And now I'm an adult and I'm seeing it and I'm
It's
like, oh, this is nice.
it's a mentality thing, it's a fitness
Yes.
thing, it's a
Yes.
concentration thing, and yeah, it's all kind of coming together in that sense. Obviously, the most dramatic one was the Norway game, and I feel like we've kind of played on that ever since. But that's the thing with Steve Clarke is uh, we always tend to criticize or at least groan when we see subs and we think, what are you doing? How many times have we seen him make subs and we're questioning them? And they always seem to pull it off. He's always
Yeah.
he always leaves us going, oh, actually that was actually quite inspired. That was a good decision. No
Yeah.
matter
And you
like
know,
we're not the managers.
the way he deals with the press as well, he just doesn't get caught up in all the drama. You can see sometimes he's been a bit bitey, but I just think he protects the players so well, and he seems to manage the players really well. There was a big question mark on whether Ben Doak would actually start against Poland, and he was. I just wonder if he was playing really coy to try and play in the Poland manager's kind of head a wee bit. I thought it was just class, and we've got. I don't want to say we've got away with it. We've won the game. I thought we were by far the better team in the first half. Poland are still a good outfit, but at the same time, man, like this is we should go into these relegation playoffs. Which what did you say, Laura? The draw is on Friday, and we
Draws
should
on
go into
Friday.
it with no fear.
Yeah, we play so the two games are in March. We're the away team first, home game second. And yeah, that it means that we'll now have friendlies in June because of the way the fixtures work out. So it means in turn we'll have a smaller qualifying group for the World Cup 26.
And what's the permutations for the World Cup draw, which takes place in December?
So that one, yeah, we are currently in pot three for that one. We can move up to pot two, and this depends on two results on Tuesday night. So if Czech or Slovakia fail to win their games, Czech are playing Georgia and Slovakia are playing Estonia. So if
Mm.
either of them fail to win their game, then we'll get into pot two. And
Wow.
again, you're looking at the teams in pot two, and you're thinking they're a match for us. Like so, even if we're
Yeah.
in pot three, I'm not overly worried about who we're going to get in pot two. I'm maybe
No.
misplaced confidence right now, but we are a good side. And yeah, we took a battering in the summer, and we went straight into League A, which is difficult for us, but
Mhm.
we've recovered well.
I think that's a really good point because I was looking at the pots, yeah, or the projected pots. So it's roughly because obviously the pots aren't decided yet. But I agree with you. I don't think there's a massive um, needle change between a lot of the teams in pot two and pot three. So kind of dependent where you are. There are some trickier teams in pot three, I would say as well, or difficult away days or whatever, as there are in pot one. And I think a lot of maybe some scarier names in there, like teams like Sweden or Turkey or Poland or something like that. But I think that you're maybe thinking of them in terms of what those international teams have done in the past. I don't think any of them have really done much, and kind of the same way Scotland haven't for a long time as well. So I don't think there's much to be scared of, or it changes a huge amount. Remember in the last qualifying campaign where we felt that same way, where we were like, oh, what's the point of getting a higher pot, and all we've done is draw Norway. It's like, well, Norway wasn't actually an issue in the end. So. I think we can have that confidence, and it's a reality check. It's a pragmatism thing, and I think part of that I think is an important part of the mental change that we have to make as Scotland fans in trying to move away from the glorious failure and all of that stuff. It's just like, where are you? Where should the squad of players that you've got, many of whom are peppering the Premier League or Serie A or whatever, playing at the highest level? We've got Champions League winners in the squad. We've got Premier League winners in the squad. Serie A, all of this stuff. Um, we've got a squad that's comparable, I think, at our best to any other team in Europe, pretty much, bar, like the 10 biggest countries or whatever, that'll always have an advantage that way. So I genuinely don't think there's any issue there with looking across that spread of teams across probably pot two and pot three, really. And also there'll be little pockets in there. You look at teams like Finland maybe that have had like little peaks over the last couple of years getting to their first tournament in recent years and things as well. So there are tricky teams in pot three that if we're in there, we will avoid those teams too. So I do think there is genuine reason for positivity. Something I just really want to come back to because I want to make sure that we talk about it. I know everyone will be talking about it, but something you said, Andrew, about we didn't know if Ben Doak would start two games in a row. He did, and look at the rewards that were reaped from that. Because I was kind of joking about it on our group. I was like, I'm not a fan of direct, quick, sexy team goals. It's like I really want cumbersome, laboured build up in our play. But you see what just that fresh injection does, and I think I know what Clark's alluded to, which is you don't want to do maybe what Scottish or British football fans tend to have a thing of doing, which is he's the new such and such, or like at 18 he's got it all, and you kind of like burn them out. But I genuinely also at the same time don't see a reason for here's an 18-year-old who is lightning quick, who fears no one. Like he had the world's most expensive defender in circles in that
Yeah.
Croatia. He's just playing with a confidence and a maturity that also gives us something different. It's something that is better, I would say, than the options we've had in attack in previous games. So why wouldn't you look to do that? And it's not saying he has to start every game or play 90 minutes or we have to change the system to suit Doak and be stronger on the right when we have predominantly been on the left or whatever. It's just like this is the point of a squad. Doak will come in, maybe have a couple of good games here or there. Great. If he falls off a little bit, it's fine. He's 18. He's got the time to keep growing again. But what was really encouraging was that Clark, I think, against type, didn't revert to, well, he's played one game, he did well, but I don't want to burn the boy out. So we're going to stick a defensive wing back from Bournemouth on instead. It's like, give him a shot. He's earned a shirt. And tonight, he had, I think, has earned the right to keep it. Obviously, injuries dependent and stuff in the next couple of months or form or burnout or whatever. But he was electric. And I'm really pleased. That seems like a positive to me that that type of player is shown to get the chance. If you're good enough and it's in the right position, you will get a chance in this squad. That's a real positive, I think.
On the other side of the coin as well, like what a special day for Andy Robertson, who I think actually didn't have too great a game. However, it was his 80th cap. 80th cap. I think that's him third in the record for Scotland caps. And he scores a winner. And it's a bullet header
What a header.
I feel like we've been criticising him a lot recently, and it's really quite fairly. He's
because
not
he's been
really been.
pish. He's not been that good, but he's not been match fit. He's came back from a big injury.
Yeah, and look, he almost looked troubled playing on Friday night. It almost just looked like he had the world on his shoulders, the weight of the world on his shoulders. Whereas tonight, he looked happy. The amount, like even just at full time, I've not seen him smile like that in so long on the pitch in a Scotland strip, and it
He
looked
just
like he
scored
had
the winner.
yeah, but even like, do you know what? Did he, was it earlier on in the game? Was it him that hit the bar, him that hit the post? Or
No, McTominay.
he had an
McTominay,
early
and then
chance.
he had a deflected shot that
That's what it
went right.
was. But even in that early moment, you could see him sort of, his emotions were more prevalent. He was like kind of laughing, like, oh, typical, like, we aren't getting the breaks here. It's typical Scotland. And you could kind of see that kind of character come through, which you don't see because normally he's so focused on his face.
Honestly, just a special leader. I think when he first came in as captain, he was quite young, and it's not your quintessential captain position that he's in, playing as a fullback. But he's totally been Steve Clark's like number two. I just love him, man. I think he shows exactly what you need to have in a Scotland captain. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He puts everything out on that pitch, and then he has to come out and speak to the press when it's been difficult. And that is not an easy job, and he takes that on so well. And I just, you know, it's really what's nice is we're not talking about two of our best players are playing left back anymore. We're talking about the squad now. We're talking about the full
Remember who
team in
Kieran Tierney
every
is?
yeah, I know.
We do miss him, to be fair.
This is a really important point, I think, Andrew, as well, because I feel this is the first time, the last couple of games has been the first time in quite a while that I feel like the responsibility has been more evenly spread throughout the key
Yes,
players. team, because I
100%,
think
yeah.
we have gone through patches in the past where it's like John McGinn, John McGinn, John McGinn, everything needs to go through John McGinn, and then he gets absolutely knackered, and then we're like McTominay, everything's through McTominay. Like if he's not playing well, then we can't do anything. I feel like in the last three games, and you've had obviously like the big players will always have like Robertson, McTominay, McGinn, but I think other players as well have stepped up in that time as well. Another quick word. I think John Souttar in the last three games, I think's been brilliant at the back for us, a real rock, which is weird as well because he's been shaky as anything in
Domestically.
defense for most of the season, but. In the dark blue shirt, he's looking so rock
I
solid.
thought Hanley was good as well, to be honest.
But even Hanley as well, and I'm not a massive fan of Grant Hanley. I don't think he should still be playing international football. But in fairness, you have to say the guy's done really well, and like that,
Mhm.
that again, and even Ralston, bless him, even though he's not getting a second to look in at the Celtic team, he's still being put in at the national team level. It reminds me a wee bit of Alan Hutton. Remember when Alan Hutton basically didn't play for about 2 years, but he was always our starting right back and always either brilliant going forward or an absolute liability in defence. But just get back to that point, I do think there's been a much more even spread, and like players like Gilmer and stuff just taking on that mantle for a bit, spreading that, and that calmness then permeates through the rest of the team and the rest of the squad. So again, I hope that's a sign of things to come. Where it's not just like we perennially look to one person to be like, you're good, do something good. It's just like it's spread amongst the team. It's like, yeah, we've got a goal threat through McTominay, but we've also got John McGinn. We've got the solidity and the calmness maybe from Robertson coming there and goals now, obviously, as well. But we've got the sprightly attack as well of Ben Doak. We've got the solidity of John Souttar or other players coming in. I just when that momentum starts to come through, I think that's really important. So it's trying to harness that and take that again into March.
Well, how good will it be when you have the likes of Patterson back as well and Hickey, like in that right back position? Like we'll be so much more potent. Ralston's done a job. There's no doubt about it. He's done a job, but he's not the best right back we have at our disposal. And I'm really looking forward to seeing who might come through the ranks in the next year or two as well to add to Doak's brilliance and coming in as well.
Can I just ask Laura, seeing as you're the kind of queen of permutations and understanding all of this stuff, the maths stuff going on, if we're able to do what we hope to achieve, which is staying in League A, because we've got this playoff now, what does that actually mean in real terms for us in terms of like next qualifying or anything else going forward?
It is actually a good point because I think some will go into March playoffs now, not quite understanding the importance of it because essentially it looks like four friendlies now we've got on paper because playoff is like a third place playoff in a World Cup. Nobody cares about the result. So yeah, on paper it looks a bit boring. It's actually really important. Funnily enough, there's a loophole in the Nations League. If we stay in League A, now this is classed as a World Cup year because the next tournament is World Cup 2026. We actually want to be in League A in a Euros year. So for looking ahead to Euro 2028, because the way that the backdoor qualifiers, like the playoffs that we get through the Nations League, which we've been so successful in the past, they are more favourable to you when it's a Euros year as opposed to a World Cup year. So we had to like going up and down to A and B actually does work for us, but it had to be in the right cycle. And
Right.
it looked like we were in the wrong cycle. It looked like we were going up and down in the wrong year. So we had to have 2 years in the one league to
Yeah.
get back in track. So going up and down after this will be fine, but we have to stay in League A just now to get us on that track. Essentially, for the Euros, the qualification spot, the backdoor qualification spot, cascades down. So everyone in League A could qualify the traditional way.
Yeah.
Scotland don't, then they get the missing spot almost, which is not what happens right now for the World Cup, which is not why we are qualifying the kind of this way. So that is why it is important we're there for the Euros, but not so much for the World Cup years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who knew we'd just love the back door so much? Ending on that bombshell, we'll look forward to March, won't we, guys? Let's round off the podcast with some news, because news is news, and don't we love news?
Regret it's not. It's good laugh on it. So
I didn't find it funny.
Oh yeah, let's do you know what? Like, I know we normally do funnies and stuff like that, but like, if we stick with the news, Laura, can you start us off with that thing you told us about? Oh, it's so cryptic. About the championship and the quirkiness that's happening this weekend.
It was the weekend just there.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're kind of a week late to mention it, but it is quite nice. It's not so much relevant now if you look at the table, but if you'd looked at the table on Saturday morning, it was the fixtures of the championship where first versus second, third versus fourth, fifth versus sixth, and so on. You get the drift. And yeah, they were all playing each other. Obviously now it's slightly changed because of results, but it was just a nice quirk that you don't
I
see
like
very
quirky
often.
things like that. I wonder what if has anyone checked next weekends if it works out the same way? I don't know. Okay, well that was funny. This isn't. Uh yeah, some more financial rubbish for you. Dumbarton, it looks like, are going into administration and are set to get a 15-point deduction because of it. It's probably going to be announced when this podcast comes out. So I mean, normally we do the podcast and all the big news drops, but we're ahead of the curve here. I think what's tough for Dumbarton fans is that this points deduction will actually put them below Inverness, who themselves are already being given a points deduction and are in administration. It's just a really, really tough time for the Suns, and it's not nice to see League One. It's so hard. I mean, I worry about Queen of the South, who are still full time playing in League One. And that's just the difficulty you have in the Scottish system. Take a risk, stay full time, but these finances are so difficult to manage. Um, I want to move on though to because there'll be more coming out about Dumbarton over the next coming weeks. But there's a wee rumor, and doesn't everyone like a wee rumor? It's more of a rumor mill than news now. But there was the little rumor, to use it again, about Philippe Clement. And Finn, I want to come to you with this because apparently he is in the list or in the top list of names to be the next Belgian boss. Do you think fans are split with the thought of Clement leaving Rangers, or is it maybe more of a negative thing that Rangers might be like having to hire another manager in a short space of time?
There's maybe a little bit of both, just for a tiny bit of context. So the reason why this rumor is kind of like percolated, and it is just a rumor, but it does maybe have some merit in it, is that the
Clement's Belgian.
yeah, no, he is. But the new Belgian FA Sporting Director, which is his name is Vincent Manaert, he was the former chief exec at Club Brugge, where
Uh,
Philippe Clement had a lot of success. So they know each other really well, and he's a massive fan. Uh, Dominic Tedesco is the current Belgian manager. I think they lost to Israel.
they did
Um,
1-0.
yeah, in the most recent game, and Israel finished bottom of their League A group, so that's not a good result at all. So his coach's in a bit of a sugly peg at the moment, anyway. There's a couple of other names being like Thierry Henry, who I think was an assistant there under Martinez for a little while, and Hervé Renard, which would be a weird one because he's literally just gone back to Saudi Arabia as their coach for his second stint there. But um, I think Rangers fans are they're just fed up of where the club is at the moment. More to do with, I think, the fact that they don't really see a huge change in or evidence of progression under Clement after a year of being there. I don't think a lot of fans would necessarily shed a tear. The issue's always been Rangers aren't really in a financial position to sack him, especially having given him a contract extension. Where this might be actually an attractive opportunity to move on a manager that might not be working there, but they get paid for the compensation, in which case the contract extension looks like a genius piece of business in a time when the board has not been making a lot of great decisions. So I don't know. I'll be interested to see what happens. I think Clement himself is quite a stubborn guy, and I think he feels like he's got real unfinished business at Rangers, and he wants to see through a longer term project. That's what he always felt he was taking on. So I don't think he necessarily wants to go. There's obviously a big difference between club football and international football, but we'll wait and see what happens. Could be interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're Clement and you're feeling all the the hate from Rangers fans and you're feeling the pressure domestically, and then your country comes calling, you would probably fly at the chance. So interesting. We shall see. We shall see. Right, let's do our funnies then, because something always catches our eye every week. So who wants to kick things off? I'll tell you what, I'll kick things off. Um, does anyone, I don't know, maybe this just I find this weird and funny. Does anyone like actually remember Timmy Mallett, the kids' TV
Yep.
presenter?
Yeah.
Nope.
Laura, do
Yep.
you remember Timmy
I
Mallett?
do not know who this guy is.
I only remember Timmy Mallett because I've just like seen clippings of him and I just watch telly and he seems to always somehow kind of like be hanging around. But Timmy Mallett was a kids' TV presenter and he always wore like really garish, like loud clothing. Uh,
I'm Googling him.
he
I
was,
do recognise his face. I don't
yeah,
think I've ever watched him
he
though.
Yeah,
was,
his show was a Saturday morning staple in kind of the mid to late 80s and the very early 90s. Wackaday, I think, was the name of the show. I remember
well,
watching it a lot, but I'm a few years older, I think, than you guys. So yeah, he was starting to become less cool when I was growing up. So I'm pretty sure he was off TV by the time that you guys
less
were
cool.
watching
Was he
TV.
ever cool? I
Oh
think he was.
yeah, he was
I think
massive in the
maybe
80s.
maybe 5-year-olds maybe were like, oh, he's so funny, like Mr. Tumble now. Well, anyway, he's a Stranraer fan. He was at
Yeah,
Stranraer last weekend, and he was going
Why?
around like giving like history lessons and stuff like that, and giving it the full. He was like on the pitch saying like, "I'm so fortunate to be here on the hallowed turf." Hallowed turf. I love you,
What's the
Stranraer. Well,
connection
I
here?
don't really, but but at the same time, it's so bizarre. There's no connection. But weirdly, and I know this is kind of a story that's not, it's loosely football related, but this isn't football related. I had no idea that he actually helped launch the career of Mike Myers. Did you know this?
No, really.
Timmy Timmy Mallett.
Just for clarity here, do you mean Mike Myers, the Saturday Night Live comedian, not the horror movie guy from the Halloween franchise? Correct.
Yes. Yeah, correct. Yeah, very nice, Finn. But yeah, no, it was weird. He was a writer on that Waka Day thing.
Workday. No
He
way.
gave him he
Wow.
gave him he gave him his first shot. Yeah.
There you go.
So yeah, Timmy
I
Mallett's a
feel quite young
Stranraer fan.
talking to you guys right now. This is quite nice. I did
I
not know
know, and
any of
you're
that.
older. Ha.
But
Right.
I think in terms of celebrity supporters of lower league Scottish football teams, it still doesn't beat the guy from the guy that what was the TV show, the really famous one, the guy that goes shit.
Oh,
Oh,
the Stenhouse
Because
Muir
he's a big,
fan.
West Wing.
yeah, he's a Stenny fan, which I absolutely love. I can't remember his name. My mind's
And
gone
from The
totally blank.
Wire. He's a
From The
detective in
Wire,
The
that was
The
Wire.
it.
Wire, not
Yeah,
Yeah,
West
yeah,
Wing, The
yeah, yeah,
Wire. That's
yeah.
it.
But that's surely got to be the best celebrity fan of a lower league Scottish football team.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is pretty cool. Right, that's my funny done. Who else has a funny? Here's a laugh.
Well, maybe just to bring this full circle back to the international fold to see out the episode, seeing as we're doing things in a kind of topsy-turvy way. This was something I'm sure most people in Scotland wouldn't have seen, but there's quite a popular football podcast over here called Suited and Booted, and they kind of interview people involved with the A-Leagues and around Australian football. Anyway, they were recently interviewing the guy who's now Australia's main goalkeeper, Joe Gauchi, who is playing for Aston Villa in England. He's kind of the backup to Martinez there, but he joined Aston Villa in the off season or last season from Adelaide United. Um, for context, for context, Joe Gauchi has a quite a famous video that's well known in Australian football circles, where he's in the changing room doing some really bad dad dancing. If you just kind of imagine it as like an Australian version of Considine, doing the Yes, I Reckon Boogie type shuffle thing that all the players were doing, is like that kind of vibe. Anyway, when he was telling me on this the Suited and Booted podcast that he when he signed for Aston Villa was added into the group chat and wasn't quite sure what to expect. Step in club captain and Scotland's hero John McGinn, who said, "I just want to welcome the stiffest mover in Australia to the club," and then shared the video of his dad dancing. So that is all that his teammates would ever have seen. But I was like, fair play, McGinn taking the lead introducing him to his new teammates and ribbing him all at the same time. I was like, that is perfect. That's exactly what we'd expect of John McGinn, as Aston Villa captain and Scotland hero. I just love that stuff.
Amazing. Absolutely brilliant. Right, well, that's the podcast finished then. Happy days for you listeners, because now you can go and do something good with your lives. But in all fairness, thanks for listening. Let's hope we see Scotland pumping Portugal, battering Brazil, and annihilating England. Laura, legend, Finn, you were fine. Go and do something else with yourselves. Goodbye.